Back of my head, all right?
Mark will be right back.
Okay, then we will be waiting. We'll be on hold.
Did you see the article in the paper today about this new kind of...
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The holiday issue of the Palm Springs International Airport Commission meeting is called into session. Mr. Smoot, has the agenda been posted?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's posted last week.
Yes. Before we move on to the roll call, I'd like to take a moment to remember Herb, whose name won't be called anymore. Herb was a tremendous friend of this airport and of many of us. Over time, we got to know him and know him very well. So I'd just like to take a moment to be quiet and think about Herb for a few minutes, a few seconds, and then we'll continue on with the agenda, please. Thank you. Marjorie, roll call, please.
Mr. Griselle is excused. Bosworth.
Here.
Callahan.
Here.
Shield.
Here.
Kreisky. Here. Engelhardt.
Here.
Duncan.
Here.
Frieden.
Here.
Luders.
Here.
Lovett. McLaughlin is excused. Miller.
Here.
Sherman.
Here.
Sisson.
Here.
Spicer.
Here.
Tavel.
Here.
And Tyler.
Here.
The roll's been called.
Thank you, and we do have a quorum. Approval of the minutes of last meeting, November 6th. Motion.
Second.
Tyler. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those who oppose? Public comments. This is the time that anybody in the public has a moment, 3 minutes actually, to comment on issues dealing with the airport that are within our purview. If there are any comments, you're welcome to make them now. Seeing none, we'll move on with the meeting. Introductions?
Well, not an introduction, but I want to tell you about an award that the airport received.
Great.
The airport belongs to an organization that's called the Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association International. It's a mouthful. And our actual member that attends the meetings is Brian. And a couple of weeks ago, they held their annual meeting at which they give out several awards. And two of the awards that they give out, the airport snatched up. And so we needed to show you those awards and tell you about them. They were the two most prestigious awards. The most prestigious award, as far as an individual goes, is the Hospitality Industry Professional of the Year, and that was Brian.
Yay.
We'll pass around his plaque. Don't ding it.
From here it looks like it says Heisman on it.
We didn't know. And the other award has to do again with the most prestigious in a different class is the Hospitality Industry Business of the Year, and in that case, the airport was selected for that award.
Wow.
Those all revolve around our spectacular job of landing flights and marketing and the things that have happened in the last year since 9/11, and so it was a very nice evening, very nice dinner that they gave, and a lot of very nice things were said about Bryant in particular and about the airport also. So we're very proud of those. Wanted to let you know about that.
And rightfully so. Congratulations again to everybody. Our staff, again, amazes me. If you look around at other airports and they can't seem to even get their act together, you realize how effective our staff is.
I presume this includes a large cash award to Brian.
Well, I got a quarter. Brian either. We'll take up a collection, Brian.
Certainly a raise.
Ooh, we like that. Did you hear that word?
No, I didn't.
That was a word you don't want to hear because he'll have a heart attack.
We did pick up the dinner tabs.
Oh, well. See, there's good in everybody. Let's move on to the action items.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this first item, I'll give you a quick little summary about it, and then Richard has some more information on it. We've been working with the marketing subcommittee to look at expanding and renewing our cart concession program at the airport. We have 2 existing carts that are quite old and are not the world's greatest as far as marketing.
Excuse me, the cart's the same as an RMU?
Yes, the cart's the same as an RMU. You know, we have to have acronyms or we can't function. And so we've been working with the subcommittee, and Richard, why don't you take it from here, and then the subcommittee can chime in as to where we are with this process. We're looking for one piece of the puzzle from you today.
Well, while I give the report that's before you, I'll pass out something that was submitted based on the RFP by the city and the airport that was sent out. What was before you there in your report is something in which we looked at the current concession carts that we have now, their ability to display merchandise, their ability to help the airport enhance the level of services that are here at the airport. And in doing such and working with Portland International, as I had indicated with their award-winning program that they had in place, they've got all kinds of accolades throughout various industry publications. We just merely took a look at enhancing the services that are here and trying to improve a program that we already realized we wanted to do something with. And in doing such, we also worked with the marketing subcommittee of the airport and went over the initial thoughts on the program, where there would be a cost involved to get the new carts in. There would need to be an organized effort to get the carts in a design format that we wanted and move forward with this. When the RFP was sent out and then closed and we looked at the respondents, we had 2, which was Sand Mountain and CabTech. Those were the 2 respondents. There was a non-mandatory meeting during the RFP process in which one vendor out of all the vendors that were involved in this showed up, which was CabTech. The results of the RFP coming back in were reviewed by an RMU committee, which consisted of 2 of the commissioners, myself, Alan, and Harold Good, and we reviewed the submittals that were there.
Harold's the city purchaser.
Yes, Harold is the procurement and contracting director for the city. In taking a look at the 2 submittals, which you all have before you now, we did some discussion of what was submitted, did some discussion of their ability to produce the product that we desire. We think both of them could produce the product. However, it was pretty clear in one of their cover letters that one of them seemed to be a little bit too busy to perhaps accommodate some of our requests and being able to meet with them and produce it. And CabTech also took the time and effort when they did come out to this facility and take a look at our new terminal. And when we spend $20 million on a new terminal, it's nice that somebody did take the time to come out to a non-mandatory meeting and at least send in with their proposal some of the elements that make up the design features of our facility here, the color schemes. These are not the definitive colors, but they made an effort to give us a feeling like they really cared, they were really trying to win this bid, and therefore the committee chose CabTech to move forward with this project. What we'd like to do is get your approval today to take this forward to the City Council, and the committee will be meeting with CabTech to try and do some of the final design features.
And there is an issue of trying to do a timeliness of this in order to make this season possible.
That is correct, and in the 2 proposals, one of them was more than 14 weeks worth of time that they would need, and CabTech was as little as 10 weeks.
Okay.
And Harold has already begun the discussions with CabTech over getting them in here next week so that some of staff can meet with them and put some of the initial design things together.
And then once we have we know we're getting the product, then we will put out RFP for vendors.
The RFP for vendors is actually being worked on right now by myself and Harold, and as soon as we get that finalized, that will go out. And as it was indicated in the report, there's a couple of items that we're looking at. There's also going to be a conference call with the Parity Shops to discuss with them how the program is moving forward. so that they have an understanding of what's going on. We certainly do not want to dilute any of the efforts that the Parity Shops has put forward.
Jane, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have a twofold question. Number one, after reading it, I wasn't quite sure is it going to be down the middle aisle where the vendors now are?
There
Or
are-
just extended?
There are 6 locations, 2 of which are not being done now. Those 2 are out in front. Alan has mentioned before the design concept for out front with doing, I believe it's that feature there that shows some of the design area for out front. Those 2 are off limits right now. We're nowhere near having the construction done out there and everything else, but that was where 2 were initially slated. The others are in the new terminal, one of which would be near the Anton restaurant that's out there, across where they put the new railing in on the other side, where there's that patio area there. One of the units to fit there. The reason for not going down the middle of it, and that will still be evaluated, is the view the passengers get when they come out of the terminal gates. The view that you get down in the center of the terminal, that perhaps the view would literally just be, a little bit ruined by putting a cart right in the middle of the facility as people are trying to walk down.
My other question was, the faithful vendors that have been there, do they get first choice and priority on any of this stuff?
They both sit in this room right now, so as I answer this question, no, there is the ability, it's my understanding per Alan, for the commission to give them some sort of grandfather type clause, but in the initial concept of doing the RFP, in order to be fair and equitable to all involved, it would simply be that they would be bidders on the RFP, but certainly they already being operators here would stand a far better chance of doing an appropriate response back to the RFP than somebody from the outside.
I just want to make that comment because he's been a vendor here a long time, and I know a lot of people that buy from him.
No,
Very
absolutely.
popular.
Both Randy and Eva have I've spoken to both of them about the program, about what's moving forward. They're well aware of what's moving forward with everything.
Kim?
On the second page of the recommendation, talk about the units costing between $16,000 and $22,000 each. I know I got an old slide rule, but you're asking the city council for $130,000. How does the 4 times 22 come out to 130, or is there something else in it?
No, it was just for, we're probably going to have to also have money in there to rent a crane in order to lift the things into the new terminal. We're going to have tax, we're going to have other things on there. That was just a not to exceed amount is all that amount is. That's not that we want to, tuck some money away for something extra.
Okay. Robert?
I'm like Jane, I got 2 things. One, I'd sure like to see a picture of one of these things so we know what we're talking about. And 2, I gather the economics are that the airport buys the carts and then leases them to the vendors for either a flat lease or a percentage lease, or how's that?
That's correct. Once the RFP is finished, we're looking to enter into a annual contract, probably 3 years with the options of 2 years on the other end of it, which would get us away from the current month-to-month situation that the airport's in. So this would be a contractual agreement that we would sign with the vendors.
How long do we project it takes us to recover our investment in the carts?
It would take 2 years to recover the investment based on the 4 cars. And it's largely dependent on where the bids come in, as was demonstrated in the report.
Thank you.
All right, go, John.
As a member of the marketing committee, we've taken a pretty good look at this, and I do recommend that the airport commission approve this.
Good request.
Do you want a
It
motion?
has been moved then, and will somebody second it?
Second.
Second. Any other comments? Yes, go
Yeah,
ahead. Larry.
I'm not up to speed on, I'm not visualizing, I guess maybe I will when the photograph comes around. These are prefabricated, they're set, and I heard somebody say a crane has to set these things. So this is not permanent construction that's built into the airport. Are these portable?
Yeah,
Yes.
they're light though. They're
Yeah.
not light, but they're on the order of the 2 that are downstairs, which are.
I see. But they're portable, but are they moved around once, or they're set up, they stay there, or are they moved around too?
They pretty much stay there unless there's some need to move them, I guess.
I
The
see.
intent is that they will stay in the basic spot that the director decides that, you know, that's it, that's where they're gonna be. But because they are movable, if we had to move them, yes, they could be moved.
They're additional sales points is what they are.
And so if, so we enter into an agreement with somebody that offers merchandise or some product through that, and they can store it in there, that I've read the description, they can lock it up, there's 110 volt power for it, and the whole thing's on casters, is that right?
Yep.
And it's about 9 feet long.
Yep.
Okay.
One quick question, when you talk with Parity, would they be interested in one or two of the carts? I mean, that's a
That will be one of the
question I
things
would
that
think you
will be
want to do.
discussed with them. They will certainly get a copy of the RFP and can choose to respond to it, so.
And yeah, obviously, we want to be respectful of the business that they do here and our contract with them. Any other comments? If not, the question's called for. All those in favor?
Aye.
And those who oppose? Motion carries. Foreign Trade Zone as staff update. Hello, staff.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, at your last meeting, I believe Commissioner Duncan asked that we get a short update on the FTZ, and so we asked Kathy Van Horn from the city's Economic Development, Community and Economic Development Department to come over and give you a short update on where we are with it. So, Kathy?
Good morning, and thank you for having me here. First, let me just give you a brief update. I asked Barry earlier who else is familiar with the Foreign Trade Zone and what it is, and just briefly, the Foreign Trade Zone is a designated area that is considered outside the U.S. Customs area. We were designated a Foreign Trade Zone in 1999, and the area of designation is basically about originally 917 acres at the airport and 14 acres at a train station, which is at Indian Avenue and I-10. Since that time, in fact earlier this year, we applied to change the boundaries of the Foreign Trade Zone to include about 40 acres of private land. Originally, that boundary modification started to be kind of a major ordeal in that we were going to look at expanding probably almost 1,000 acres and include industrial land, and there was a lot of private sector interest in all of that. But a couple things happened, one September 11th and so on. But what we ended up doing was a minor boundary modification, which means that we reduced the acreage at the airport by that 40 acres and put it onto private land. The land that is now included is 35 acres, about 36 acres, whatever, over off the Gene Autry Trail, just north of Ramon Road. There's a little triangle there that's a 40-acre industrial park. It's new, and it is zoned appropriately for industrial, commercial, foreign trade activities. The other site is a little over almost 4 acres, and that is located on Research Drive, which is just behind the Time Warner building. If you're all familiar with that, and in fact, we just celebrated a ribbon cutting ceremony for a brand new 30,000 square foot building. So hopefully with that building, it will bring some interest to somebody that could possibly use the Foreign Trade Zone, and they have a location to go into. That's part of our challenge, is actual space to activate and for people to move into. But I'll get into that in a second. So anyway, we were approved, and we submitted our application. We were approved in May by the Foreign Trade Zones Board for that boundary modification. Our biggest challenge since we were designated is activation, and what that means is to actually have somebody use the Foreign Trade Zone and move product in and out. We have 5 years to activate. So basically, our grant expires in 2004. And as we have been going along, we've looked at a couple of things to do, and that was find a little space here at the airport and activate it and just have it on the books that it was activated. But we're trying to take a more patient approach in that there are two ways to activate the foreign trade zone, and that is one, to have a subzone, which is a company outside of the zone that will come in and apply to be in the zone, or a user that is already in the zone to activate it and use it. None of that is happening because the foreign trade zone is a very specialized benefit, and it really involves importing and exporting, and more so importing, and there's just not a lot of that here in the Coachella Valley. So we're taking kind of a patient approach in that we are not rushing into activation because we can apply to extend the expiration date, and we are also looking at activating the convention center. And why we would do that is because we do have an international art show that goes to the convention center, and there are about 9 or 10 convention centers across the U.S. that are activated as foreign trade zones. So we're investigating that and talking with those various convention centers to find out, well, we know that none of them have actually used it. Even though they've been activated, they haven't actually used it, but they do use it in their marketing efforts. So it could be a good thing, one, for the airport, for the convention center, and all this ties in together with marketing and promoting. So we're looking into that. What that would entail would also be a minor boundary modification, and that we'd have to include the convention center into the zone. Which leads me into prospects and things like that. We continue to work with people and try and see how this zone can work to their benefit, and part of that, what that means is we talk to people as they call in. We receive leads from various agencies, other economic development agencies in the Coachella Valley, and actually the Inland Empire. Backing up a second, the foreign trade zone is a regional asset, meaning that you can go 60 miles outside of the zone and a company can use it within that range. So we constantly talk to our counterparts across the valley and encourage them to use this as a marketing tool in their efforts to attract business to their jurisdictions. In fact, today I have a meeting with the Enterprise Zone, the City of Coachella, and the Coachella Valley Economic Partnership, and the U.S. Commercial Services. So, we continually promote the zone in that way, and also in other marketing promotional efforts and sending out materials with our packages, and attending trade shows, which I believe, who was it, Chuck or John? John. We were at the airline trade show together. Basically, where we are right now is we still have a consultant that, although we haven't paid him in a long time and he hasn't asked for any money, we do send people to him to help us with the feasibility analysis, and that's where we have a kind of a 14 questions that we ask people to complete. It has a lot to do with HTS, which is the Harmonized Tariff Schedule, and that kind of helps us determine whether this is going to be a feasible thing for them. And unfortunately, so far the few companies that we have really delved into this analysis, they've been upside down on their numbers. But we keep trying. Our next conference basically is going to be in the NAFTA show, which is in Mexicali, and we're working, the team I'm working with today will really put an effort together to promote the zone, promote the airport here actually, and tourism here in the Coachella Valley. So, any questions?
Thank you. Go ahead, Larry.
I understand that the benefit of the trade zone is that if I'm an importer, I can bring in from outside the country certain goods or equipment, display them, not have to pay duty.
That's correct.
That's the advantage to me as an importer. What I'm not clear on, what does it take to activate it? Is that something that that we do or you do? And why not just do it? Is it
Well, if you're the company, you would basically come to us, the grantee, and with a letter asking to be activated
I see.
as part of the zone. And what we have to look at is, one, whether your site is already in the zone, or if you're outside the zone, whether you're actually a subzone, or if we do a minor boundary modification and get you in the zone. But those are technical things that we don't worry about.
Is that a lengthy process, or can that be pretty quick?
The subzoning application can be almost a year, if not longer, depending on the size of the company and the level of investigation that Customs chooses to go through.
So it's not your office that does that, it's...
No, we facilitate the application. You have to come through us because we're the grantee, but we facilitate in getting the application to Customs and approval.
Isn't that a big obstacle? Because a year is a planning horizon for a convention, but if it takes a year to get through the process, is there some way that you can accelerate that or set it up to where?
Yes, what we would do, it could happen two things. One, if you're a brand new company and you're looking to build a facility, and that's one of the challenges we have here in Coachella Valley, is we don't have a lot of standing inventory of industrial space. So we can process the application while you're building your facility. So when you're ready to operate, you're all set. If you're existing and have a facility already, what we would propose is doing a minor boundary modification, which can be done within 30 to 60 days, exchange some land, get you in the zone, and then do a subzone application, and then redo the minor boundary modification.
A follow-up question, if I may. Let's take the AOPA convention that we had. Let's say I'm a European manufacturer and I've got a diesel engine for aircraft application, and I just heard about the AOPA convention coming up 6 months, and I get space in there. Can I still bring that in without having to pay duty on it? Can you facilitate that?
If that's the purpose, the reason why we want to activate the convention center is for those kinds of shows, or people that come in overseas, or...
So you're going to go ahead and activate it?
I think we are. We're getting closer and closer, and that's our goal. I think it makes sense, and I think it'll be a great marketing tool, one, to bring more conventions, and possibly that international type of convention.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Ken.
As a potential manufacturer going to import, do I have to pay you for these services?
Yes.
How much do I have to pay you?
We have a schedule, and it ranges from about $2,500 to $5,000 annually, depending on what type of application you're doing.
Do like they do with the consultant.
We've actually, have told a prospect or two that we will assist. We can't actually reduce it because we have to operate as a public utility, so those rates have to be available and posted, publicly. But we can, as economic development, go, okay, we're going to help you by paying the fee, to get you started.
As a follow-up, how much of a percentage do I save by going through a free trade zone?
That is going to vary. And it's a cash flow thing, and it depends on the amount of goods that you import. It depends on what you do with those goods, or the
Type of goods?
the type. It could be, let's say you're importing this piece that makes this microphone. The duty could be greatly reduced because you've changed what it came in originally as. So it depends on what you do as how much you're going to save.
Jane.
The people over there on Perez Road that have all the tile, all the marble places over there, and all that stuff comes in from Italy, would that be a savings to come through this free trade zone? They bring everything out of LA.
Yeah, it is possible, and that has been our biggest challenge. One of the things that we're doing, what I do as far as outside of Palm Springs, because I do work for the city of Palm Springs, is encourage the economic developers and what have you to talk to their businesses to see if in fact, this will work. So we will go out. There's a couple of businesses in Thousand Palms that I'll be following up with to see if they could be a subzone. The challenge is that a lot of companies already pay, it's wrapped into their shipping costs, their warehouse costs as it comes into LA Port, and it's trucked here. So they don't really see the benefit, they don't see what those costs are, so it's hard to get them to look at it. It's a little bit of a
Thank
challenge.
you. Bert?
Just a comment I'd like to bring forth here and to amplify a bit. There are a lot of free trade zones around Southern California, and there is competition, but there could well be a niche for us to pursue it aggressively and to be on the lookout ourselves to feed in leads. High technology distributors, small equipment that can be easily handled by aircraft, coming in from overseas, components that are made in, be it Asia or anywhere else, in Europe. The March Air Force Base, free trade zone, Phillips Electronics, hundreds of jobs created, or maybe 100, I don't know how many, Kathy. But I mean, it's an example of what can be done. San Bernardino is pushing very hard to get former Norton Air Force Base converted fully into a free trade zone. There is this competition, but yet, to be able to market, you have to have marketeers, and you have to have facilities, and just having inaugurated the 30,000 square foot building is an answer to a lot of Europeans that I knew who come in and say, oh, this is great, but what do I want to do with this sand? I want something to look at before I consider you as an airport. But let us consider the airport and all these acres we're talking about. We're not in a cocoon. If the foreign trade zone can develop, what we're going to end up with is a change in direction of some of our marketing plans for the next 5 years, which impact upon the marketing program, or not our marketing program, but also our 5-year projection plan for the airport, because it's adjacent to it. These buildings are going on. Companies are coming in potentially from overseas. We have until 2004 in the 5-year plan. It's right within it. We should have some mention in that plan of the foreign trade zone potential impact, because it's aggressively being marketed now. And I think that this is something that we could all be marketeers for, and feeding information to Kathy on leads. It's warehousing, it could be design firms, it could be providing, you could call it replacement parts for equipment that's foreign made on a much faster basis too. Serviceability of the market, in the market, that is a factor, not just the import and export costs. So it's a positioning of a company in a market. And there are a lot of small companies out there in Europe and other countries that are looking for a safe, soft landing. And this is something like a franchising firm, which is a very likely candidate, that has its supplies, its napkins, its other things that can be warehoused here and distributed without the traffic jam of Los Angeles or even Ontario. So as far as we're concerned, let's convert ourselves into thinking more aggressively on international companies' exposure that could be taking advantage of Palm Springs, and spread the word and let Kathy know.
Robert, you had your hand up.
Well, I changed my answer, but I understand it from previous presentations on this subject that it's more than just providing a warehouse. You can expand on this perhaps, Kathy. You got to bring the goods in and do something with them, change them or modify them or incorporate them or whatever. You can't just bring them in duty-free in the warehouse and pass them out duty-free. From that point, you have to actually contribute to the material and change it. So, we got to look at the total scope of what you can and can't do to benefit from the FTZ.
Jane.
I have a 3-part question actually, is what happens 2004? How much business have we done? Have we done enough of anything to, if I'm looking at a year to be able to bring my product in 2004, are we going to be in existence after 2004? I guess it's just multiple questions in there.
What I propose and what we intend to do is extend and apply to extend that expiration date. And I think what I read is there's an automatic 18-month extension. So that gives you more time. I would like to propose more of a 3 to 5 year extension, because I think that we can make the case of, one, the changes of September 11 as it affects the airport is a good case to express to the board that we have challenges here. And I would like to see us take a more long-term approach, as kind of Bert was saying, in the next 5 years. Maybe we're a little premature, maybe as business is starting to grow and we, not only Palm Springs, but other valley cities market to bring other industry aside from tourism and agriculture, then we start to see that growth. And we're seeing it in Thousand Palms, with the enterprise zone and combining this particular benefit. I think it's going to work, but I hesitate to just run out and activate something just for the sake of doing that. But I think that, one, activating the convention center will help satisfy that expiration date.
Kim?
If we're bringing parts or anything in from overseas, does the point of contact with the United States have to be here in Palm Springs in that zone? Or can we transship it through other cities like LA or Chicago?
You can do zone-to-zone transfers, and it depends on where it is coming from and how the shipment is. I would assume that most of it is going to go into the Long Beach port anyway, but what happens is it bypasses customs at that port and comes directly into the zone.
Is that a bonded kind of shipment?
Technically, yes.
Any more questions, Larry?
I have a suggestion for an action step. I like Bert's suggestion, we could all be marketers in a sense of this without trying to be an expert in it. But my background in this is started about 10 minutes ago when we started making So, do you have any questions? It would be very helpful if you would produce maybe a short 2 or 3 page report that says what is a free trade zone. What is the city looking at in terms of extending it and activating it, and give me some information. I'd like to make a report to Supervisor Roy Wilson, who appointed me to this board, and say, here's something going on in the Airport Commission that you ought to be aware of. So I'd just like to have a few facts and that would help me communicate that, and in the case if I run into somebody that would be interested in this, I at least have some information and put your name and phone number on it, I can refer them to you.
Okay.
I believe, Barry, we do
I was just
have...
going to point out, in the meantime, if you want to do some research, the North America Free Foreign Trade Zone, NAFTZ.org, I believe, online. You can get more information.
Probably more than I can digest.
We have manuals as well.
Make it a 2-pager.
Are there any more
Another
questions?
question.
One more question, and then we're on our roll.
Kathy, with the, I'll say, probable starting of the flow of truck traffic, primarily from south of the border, with NAFTA getting all sausage and blood here, do you expect that to have any influence one way or another on increasing the desirability of having a FTZ operator?
We keep trying to find what that connection is. With NAFTA, as you know, all that duty is eliminated anyway, so it makes it hard to sell. And one of the things that we try and say and point out to people is the FTZ, aside from the duty benefits, there's inventory controls, there's other areas that companies can look at that will streamline and make their business more efficient. So we try and promote that too. But that's one of the reasons we're involved in NAFTA and the NAFTA show in Mexicali, and the networking we do back and forth across the border with our counterparts over there to find a niche, find a connection.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kathy, I want to thank you very much. We appreciate it, and maybe Larry can get some data from you. That would be great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Let's move on then to updates. Air Service Development.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Proud moment this year.
Yes, we did have a successful event on Monday for those of you who were here and for those of you who weren't here. It went off very well. Delta was very appreciative of it. We, for the most part, got good press coverage with the exception of one station. So we're very happy with that. The next event is on the 12th of December at 10:30. Will be the Continental inaugural. Followed by the next day will be the United one. On that one, by then we will have worn everybody out, and we don't think we can get everybody back here again, so we'll be a little press conference for that one. So those continue on. The staff is getting ready to start its jaunts all over the country again, talking to people, so we haven't let up. We can tell you that things are getting busy. All the promised flights are coming, and the good news is some of those flights are even getting better. We'll be announcing next week probably that Alaska is going to start using their 737-800s in here on the Seattle routes twice a day on 2 of the Seattle flights, which add 37 seats. They're 154-seat aircraft. That's very good news. They're very nice aircraft. They're brand new, and so they continue to look at the market, and so things are moving along.
On a year-to-year basis, how does it look from last year to this year?
Right now, we're still behind. Once we get into January, things will start popping, and I think we're going to be about 3.5% ahead on seats over the previous best year we've ever had. So
By year end.
by year, so we should be pulling above water for the first time since 9/11, and heading on from there.
I would caution the commissioners that the November numbers are going to look really horrible as they do for the airlines already, because we had 2 busiest days fell into December, and they're normally in November, the 2 days after Thanksgiving. So everybody in the airlines numbers, everybody's down, but it's very understandable. So if you see it down in the paper, it's not that we're going out of business.
So the good news is it's going to kick off now and start going like crazy. So we won't let up.
Well, looking at your report, it looks like by the time you factor in November and December, we'll be over the 1 million passengers mark.
Yeah, we will still be behind where we had hoped to have been had 9/11 not happened, but obviously coming into the new calendar year, we'll be on top of the best year we've ever had. And just hopefully, we will have the seats. Now we got to put the bottoms in the seats, and we'll be fine. So that effort is underway.
We have a challenge there, a lot of new seats and a lot of new destinations.
Yes.
We want to keep those carriers, so all of us push for it. A lot of people don't appreciate the fact that this means that you can now go out of here as well as have tourists come into here. I think we need to always keep emphasizing that this means that now you can go to the world from here, and probably very competitively in most cases. In fact, I was looking at one fare to Amsterdam, and it's more competitive than Los Angeles.
Really?
Absolutely, by about $70.
With the Atlantic connection,
That's a big help.
big hub in the United States. Huge amount of international activity going out of there, so it's a great connection.
Which airline is this?
That acted to be Continental because I was trying to see where, but Atlanta, Delta's have some wonderful fares. In fact, I just digress on their actual real first day here. They had 30-some passengers, I can't remember what the number was, 38 passengers who actually connected out of Los Angeles. Because they were full in Los Angeles, the fare was cheaper, and the people they had arranged for a fare, because we had a great fare out here, to come through here. I don't think we ever had a connecting passenger at our terminal in our life. They're wandering around. So, times are changing, folks.
All will be well.
Yeah, that's right. Go ahead.
On the airport security side, just a couple of updates to let you know what's cooking. The ETD, explosive trace detection equipment, installation is underway, even though you can't see it happening. It's happening at night. The wiring and those kinds of things are occurring. The equipment is beginning to arrive. And at this point, the schedule is that Turner Construction and their subcontractors will complete the installation here in Palm Springs on the 18th of December. Mr. Anthony is hard at work training his staff for that. And our anticipation is that we'll be up and running before the deadline, be able to work some of the bugs out, and be able to hit the ground running. We are continuing through that process. Things are coming quickly to us now. As a matter of fact, they FedExed some of the equipment to us yesterday on a pallet. First time I've ever seen a pallet come FedEx. Glad I didn't pay the bill. But anyway, the equipment's getting here, and that's what's important. And so we will have that all in place. So that is proceeding well. The next piece that we are working on, obviously, is the roadway design. Is proceeding well. Pictures behind the chairman on the wall there show the Inspection Plaza's latest rendition of how the fabric roof will be constructed over the top of it. We're still working on that to get the cost down. But we're plugging along rather well. We have some design meetings today on that to keep it moving. Our anticipation is to be out to bid in February and be under construction by April, completed by late September, early October. It's moving rather well. Again, you should be proud of your airport because of the creativity of that design. We're actually being held up as the poster child for the new 300-foot rule as to what airports should be doing for the future, as far as being able to remotely stop all vehicles if necessary to inspect them, and this facility will allow us to do that. There still is some questions in the community about closing the access to El Cielo, so it's going back to the City Council on the 11th to the study session. We have now, yesterday, received the traffic analysis. We had a special traffic study done to review what will happen when that traffic diverts back to Ramon Road. The traffic study basically says there will be minimal impact. It will not change the level of service, which is a traffic engineering. It's level of service C now. Palm Springs always wants to be at D or lower, so C is less than D if you're looking at the alphabet that way. And so it's staying the same. One of the things that has happened is Ramon Road is just now being turned on as a traffic synchronized roadway, and so the traffic study actually says the traffic will move quicker once that's up and running. The interesting thing is that we were always guessing that 70% of the traffic that was on that road was not coming to the airport. It's actually 87% of the traffic is not coming to the airport. So it tells you how much of a shortcut that's been used. So anyway, we will go back to council on the 11th, and hopefully there'll be no change in direction, but we are continuing down the roadway, so to speak, with that. And it's moving quickly.
That Scott design looks like a good strong wind that you can move it anywhere you want to.
That was lifty, kind of.
Pick up and take off.
Looks like a hang glider.
Yeah, it does.
It's great.
The other piece of the puzzle that we are just now beginning to work on, because we didn't want to get the designers diverted from that project, because that's the one that we have time constraints on to get it out, is to start working on this plaza, which is the straightening of the road in front of the terminal. And the first step on that was a question of what do we do with the lobby of the terminal? Because the blast analysis, as you recall, identified the glass in the front of the building as well as some of the columns in front of the building as having a particular problem that needed to be corrected, which we won't go into specifics here because we don't need to provide people with that kind of information. But one of the questions we had was, we're going to push the roadway out. Obviously, our lobby is very crowded now and will be much more so crowded as the traffic continues to grow. So we need some more room in that lobby. If we push that lobby out, what's it do? Does it make the problem worse? Does it make the problem better? And these drawings over on the left are some first schematics of looking at what happens if you push that lobby out. And obviously, if you push the lobby out, we pick up additional space, which is good. One of the questions we asked them was, if we push the road out and we don't do anything, what kind of a problem do we have? And because of that huge overhang that sticks out in front of the building, if you were to imagine a blast going off out in front, that, even though it will get ripped off, it will also tend to divert the blast into the center of the building. And since my office is in the center of the building, since we have most of our passengers in the center of the building, it's a critical concern for us. So we said, what can we do to help that? And so much to our amazement, the first look at actually pushing the glass line, just simply moving the glass line out to the front columns that are out in front of the building now, which picks up more lobby space, actually makes the building more survivable.
Really?
Because of that, even though the glass is still glass and it still goes to shards and it still kills everybody in the building itself, and believe it or not, that's the only thing we're supposed to be concerned about in my office, will actually survive. Because the glass itself does have some energy absorbing capacity, and while it's stopping some of the energy, it's also diverting it over the top of the building rather than under that overhang. So when you calculate it all, it makes things better. Now, if you actually put some new glass in there, not the stuff that we have here now, that is designed with a mullion system to hold the glass in place, and there is some new glass out there, costs $200 a square foot to install it, rather than $20, you actually make the building even more survivable. Not only the building more survivable, but the people that are in it might actually be able to walk out. And then if you take it one step further and you actually incorporate some blast protection, some walls, get rid of some of the glass, still maintain the view corridor down Tockwitz-McCullum, but build some walls in on the sides that start to absorb some more of the blast, even make it more survivable. So that was the initial study we wanted. We wanted to know, does it make sense for us to rip that stupid overhang off the front and do something with it, or push the lobby out and pick up the space that we need, and by doing that, we make the building more survivable. Then we also talked about, we're going to have a big plaza, how are we going to provide some shade and some other stuff out there without creating, again, a deflection that causes the blast to come into the building? And the answer is actually a fabric roof. Right now, the Pentagon is building a new reception area for buses, limos, taxis, all the people that come to the Pentagon for a drop-off area. And they've actually hired Bird Air to provide the facility. And the reason is the Bird Air fabric itself balloons in a blast, and it actually absorbs the energy of the blast. And if it is such a blast that it goes to pieces, you're going to get hit in the face with a piece of fabric instead of a piece of steel. And so you might actually get up, maybe you're going to have a nice bruise, but you might actually survive. So we're also looking at some kind of fabric out in front of the building. So that's kind of where we are in it. The good news is we can solve some of our physical problems of having enough room in our building by pushing that out. We can take care of a very old overhang that has some seismic difficulties that we can also fix. And we can actually make our building more survivable and actually be eligible for a grant. So we're working through that
Are we
process.
going to get automatic doors?
Oh yes, the automatic doors will be there. One of the things we talked about was, is there a way to incorporate some areas where we could actually keep the building open during the right time of the year? And they said, well, yeah, but then if you have a blast out front, you've got a nice big hole for it to go right through, and you make things worse, so. The answer is,
That way we won't have to paint that ugly overhang.
the ugly overhang needs to come
I
off,
was
so.
going to ask that again.
So anyway, that's where we are with that.
What kind of timeline are we looking at?
Well, right now, like I said, we're pushing this guy to get it out on the street in February. And as soon as we get it out on the street, we will be going great guns on this guy. And we're not going to slow up. Our problem is that guy is going to use most of the money. There'll be some design money here, but not a heck of a lot else. But we will continue to, the good news is there'll be another grant cycle coming up here real quick. And we need to, we're actually in a grant cycle right now. We're eligible for $3.5 million right now, so.
Good. That'll pay for the glass.
How are your deep pockets, Tom?
So we're waiting to see what TSA does. There may eventually be a TSA grant program, but I assume that's a few years down the road.
Now, if we were to go with the more expensive glass, would the government really step in and pick up that difference between the cheap glass and the expensive glass?
Well,
10 times the difference?
we're eligible to receive, I mean, we could go ahead and expand our lobby and get a 75% grant just to do it as a airport project under our existing grant program. Now, if we're able to show that this expansion is also a security measure, we maybe actually get a 90% grant for that. So we can choose to do that. And yes, they will pick up the difference. They will pick up whatever the project cost is.
You would certainly go with the more expensive.
Oh yeah, if we're gonna, I mean, in order to, if one of our primary objectives in my mind needs to be make the building as well as the passenger be able to survive the eventuality of a blast. I mean, hopefully that will never happen, but as we design these things, we've got to, unfortunately, things are different now, we've got to do that.
Well, and that question has always been, I bring it up every year about an earthquake. The same problem with shards of glass, but that glass is potentially very dangerous. And the sooner we can get rid of that potential, I think the liability goes way down.
Yes.
Go ahead, Larry.
Hypothetical, and the question is, should there be, say, a seismic event, an earthquake, and some people are injured, and is there a liability that the airport has, at least in theory, as to whether the design is adequate, or is this like suing the federal government? Is there some protection?
You're talking about the existing?
Well, existing or future, just in general, if is the airport, which is a city-owned facility, susceptible to lawsuits for injury from some user here, or is there some overriding umbrella of protection? I know we must have insurance, I suppose, but how is, you can't sue, for example, I'm understanding that the federal government is exempt in a lot of areas against the liability of somebody bringing a suit or an action. Is the airport similarly positioned?
No. The airport is fully exposed to somebody bringing a suit. I mean, if we had an earthquake today and that glass fell down and somebody got killed, just the same as if somebody walked out the street out there and got hit by a car, we can be sued as the facility owner. Someone could probably not bring a suit to us for a liability that we didn't change the glass out. That glass is legal as far as the building code is concerned, as far as the reality of what we should be concerned about if we should get it replaced. But as litigious as our society is, I mean, somebody's going to sue us if we want. The issue of a blast going out there, the whole issue of terrorism insurance is it's not available. The recent Homeland Security bill has some overriding ability for the federal government to step in to the tune of like $90 billion. But that whole issue is wide open. I mean, right now, there's not an airport in the country that has terrorism insurance because you cannot get it. And if somebody were to go out and pull a blast off out there, yeah, we're going to be involved in a suit for as long as you can.
Well, the relevance of that is when we're making choices about the $20 per square foot glass or the $10 or the $2, these things we have to take into account.
Absolutely, and if we ever, God forbid, had an event here that after the building was expanded and people were hurt, I think we could go in and defend ourselves as having made a reasonable and rational choice in the process. Certainly a lot better than if all of a sudden we said, okay, well, we won't do anything. And we'll just leave that old overhang out there. We know that old overhang is a problem. So we need to try to find a way to protect what goes on in the building. Thank you.
Okay, next item.
The construction that's going on currently is all the little pop-outs and all the little things we did so that we would be ready for the explosive detection equipment, as well as the offices for TSA and all that stuff are now complete, with the exception of a couple little touch-ups here. And so they're beginning to move in. And we're ready as the explosive detection equipment's rolled out. Our other major project is the parking lot. It's in operation and was as of a few days before Thanksgiving. The project kind of ground to a halt last week because it was so busy, and we're waiting for sign delivery, our security equipment delivery that's part of that installation, as well as lighting. And all of that stuff will be happening in the next couple of weeks, and by the end of the month, we will have it completed. The nice thing is the facility is actually working. The rent-a-cars are figuring out how to make it work, figuring the flexibility in it to where they can actually, at certain times, have more cars over here than they've ever been able to have over here before. So that's continuing along. We're pleased with the process, and we'll get there.
Delta passengers particularly commented how well that worked when they arrived. They dropped their car off and they walked in. They thought it was wonderful.
Yes. So that's where we are with construction. And the last one I'll let Barry give you an update on, and I'll just kind of preface that by saying, as we thought of Herb at the beginning of this meeting, you don't realize how much Herb was doing for this Navigator program. He was literally here every morning helping Barry with the over 100, more than 100 folks that we have that have signed up to help us in this program. And so now Barry is getting 6,000 phone calls a day of people who want to change their schedule. And so Herb is really going to be missed by the staff for his dedication to the airport.
And we're going to hopefully put a memorial plaque and have it here in the conference room, his picture, that way.
Do you have one of the shirts? Show them?
Yeah, sure. And basically, we had our training session this week where we trained our navigators, and the TSA was very helpful, Tom and his staff, in letting them know about what to expect in the ticketing wing with all the new security equipment, what to tell the passengers, and how they're going to be a benefit to the airlines in trying to keep the queuing lines going in the right direction. And we do have actually volunteers on duty today down at the desk. They started yesterday, and we're going to go forward with it. Our plan is to try to run it between October 1st and May 1st every year. And if you know anyone that's interested, they can apply online at our website. That's what they'll be wearing.
Can't miss them.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, we want to make sure as we get more air service and we get more participation from all of our tenants, that we keep providing good customer service, because every customer matters.
How the people that are getting trained, you think they're going to do a pretty good job? You feeling about the quality of the...
Yes, absolutely. We've got some very, very qualified people. We have some people with a lot of some hotel backgrounds, a lot of management people.
How large group will you work with?
We try to accommodate 2 shifts. We have a 6 to 10 shift in the morning, and that's primarily for the departing passengers, and a 10 to 2 shift in the afternoon, primarily for the arriving passengers. And the goal is to have 4 people per shift, so that we'll be able to accommodate both the ticketing wing and the baggage claim at this point. That's the only 2 areas.
So you have a roster of however many?
Right. We have a database, and yeah, Herb was very helpful. He had set up all the interviews. He had started the database, and you know, he was a real likable guy too. So it was very good to have him there to kind of, you know, we have a lot of elderly retired people, so it was really good. So if anyone is interested and would like to
Pick up
his place,
There's nobody
looking for
elderly
volunteers.
All right.
They get to be elderly though.
Yeah, you look right at me and you said no. Yeah. Did you have some?
Yeah, I want to just maybe make a suggestion in honor of Herb, is that if you were to refer to the first group, of the first shift in the morning as maybe the Franson's squadron or squad or something, you know, just kind of in your terminology.
Sure.
It might be kind of a nice little honor to him. It's kind of worked that into the Navigator group.
Okay, you can look at that.
He's a lead navigator.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shane, did you have
Can I
something?
ask a question? What happened? Did Herb have a heart attack? Or?
Yes, he suffered a heart attack at home, and basically passed away at home. I mean, they tried to revive him. It was a Sunday evening about 7 o'clock. He's my next door, not my next door neighbor, but down the street. I was coming home from a party, and they were there at the time. So he was out in the yard working earlier in the day, having a good time. And I talked to him for a couple of minutes, so he's just was sudden.
There is a card that Marjorie has. If you are able to sign it, please try to
It's
sign
made
it.
all the way around, but if not, if anybody wants to sign it,
And
please.
it was, just so you know too, it was Herb's wish that there was to be no funeral, no anything other than if anybody wanted to honor him, they could donate money in his name to the disabled American veterans.
I think we need, if we're going to like on the foreign veterans, we need an address for Herb if we could have that.
1630 Buena Vista Drive.
1630?
Yes.
When
Buena
was
Vista.
Palm Springs.
And it's 92262.
If you wanted to go to the website, it's the Paralyzed Veterans of America, PVA.org.
I've been a supporter of that group for some time. It's a very well-respected group. They have very minor administrative costs. The donations go where they're intended to go. The one provisor I'll throw in, once you get on their mailing list, you get inundated with all sorts of, quote, free, unquote, things that keep coming to you on a monthly basis. Aside from that, it's
The world, any more updates?
The other update is I'd like to pass out to you a month or two ago, we sent around a critical projects list of things that we had going on, and we've added a new column to this document. It's now on the far right, kind of gives you an update as to where we are with the projects. A lot have been completed, some have slipped a little bit, others are on time, so this is just kind of an update for your information. And we will probably be adding some additional things to there as we go along, but right now those are the guys we're focusing on. So that's going along well. And there are no added starters.
Mr. Chair. Commissioner requests and reports. First, I'd like to mention, as we have done before, if you've got something in the mail or FedEx from one of the vendors, we used to turn them back in. I would recommend that we continue the policy we did last year of donating it to a charity that like a Rotary Club or something where there's a useful purpose for it. That would, I think that makes more sense than bringing them down here and turning them in and all that. Maybe I'm the only one that got something.
Oh, no, you're not.
I haven't got mine yet.
All right, well, and it's very sweet of them. I mean, it's not the issue, and it certainly falls into the legal thing, but it's just the idea that I don't think we ever want to get in the business of accepting anything from any of the people that deal with the airport. So if you would just kindly contribute those to a charity, that would be great. Okay. Also, I want to thank those of you who attended the Delta moment. It was great. I can report that out in the terminal area was there. The mayor had a great moment. He loves serving cake to every passenger, and of course it was right down his alley to smile and chat and talk, and the passengers were very impressed. It was very nice. So I will report to you that those of you who didn't get the chance to go down there, it was wonderful. And everything up here I thought came out very well, Richard. The food was great, and I appreciate it. Go ahead.
Are they going to do the same thing for Continental?
Yeah, well, you'll all be getting your invites in the mail probably today or tomorrow.
So we'll see you for Continental, and
then for
United's president.
United is merely going to be a press conference. There will not be a...
That's good, I can't take the calories.
Really? There will be far less food at Continental because it's at 10:30.
All right, well, coffee and donuts. Robert?
I noticed recently in the local newspaper, the public notice of the city is advertising for bids for expansion of the convention center. My understanding was the return of AOPA in '06 was predicated upon that expansion. I presume they've been notified and we're actively chasing them now.
They've known that for some time.
Okay. That's a done deal.
When's the projected date for completion of the expansion? Roughly? Anybody knows more than anybody? We're looking 2 years out, or?
Well, right now, there is a first phase expansion that starts on January 2nd. That's basically some remodel of the building for the kitchen, expanding it and doing some things to an existing theater in there that's underutilized to turn it into a banquet room. About $3 million. That project will be completed by May. The second phase, the design firm by the name of Fentress Bradburn out of Colorado has been selected by the council on the 18th. They'll actually accept a contract with them, and they'll start design right after the first of the year. Right now, the projected opening date of the expanded facility is December 24th, 2004.
2 years, and the size of the expansion is roughly X% increase?
We don't know yet. We're probably talking about a 60,000 square foot addition, 35,000 of it to the existing big room to make it a 100,000 square foot room. But that's all up in the area. But it's underway. It will be, unfortunately, it's going to be restricted by the dollars that can be raised from the TOT increase that the city did recently from the voter approval, which is $24 million. The council had kind of been led to believe that $24 million would do it. When we did the interviews with the architects, they said, no, it's about 40 million that'll do it. So there's going to be some adjustment done. So there will be enough money to do the things that need to be done so that the conventions like the ALPA will return.
We're projecting 2006 for ALPA.
That's the one they're talking to them about. But there are there are two large conventions that are booked already for March of 2005, and they're booked contingent upon a bigger building.
Okay, other commissioner requests and reports. City council actions, I think we can incorporate those into the minutes. That's the yellow page you have in front of you. Correspondence.
There's two pieces in there, one from Marion Blakely, who's the new administrator of the FAA, who was here for ALPA, and we met her when she got off her plane, and she came by the next day for kind of an impromptu meeting here for about 45 minutes, and that was a thank you letter from her. We were excited to be able to do that. It's unusual to get an audience with a person of that caliber. And then secondly, the letter from Kaufman that corrects some of the goof-ups that they did earlier by leaving a lot of Mr. Tyler's stuff out. And the letter was
I'm more than a little chagrined that they devoted the entire letter to 98% of my comments.
You shouldn't be chagrined, you should be proud you gave the most input of any commissioner.
Okay. How proud you are.
So you get an extra star by your name.
And we won't forget.
Requests and reports, other than I think we've decided to shift the January meeting to the
7th or 8th.
I think it's the 8th.
Like the Wednesday following the 1st.
Yeah, that's the 8th.
It's okay with me.
Okay,
Good man.
we will do it then, and I don't see any problem with that. If somebody can't be here, please tell Marjorie.
The other things that you need to know is the Christmas tree was decorated down there by Marjorie and Pam and Sue Mills, who's the Human Resources Director from across the street. She has a very unique ability she's a decorator on the side, and you can tell it. If you haven't seen the tree, take a look at it. It's absolutely spectacular. We're trying to get a bow for the car so it looks like it belongs under the tree with it.
You saw last year's tree.
If you saw it last year's tree, you can tell the difference. We decorated it last year.
Lights hanging down like
Charlie Brown.
String on the side, I saw that.
Something the Grinch would do.
Also, I want to compliment continuing putting those poinsettias down there. It makes that whole lot just look really a lot better.
Yep.
Great idea.
And so anyway, with that, we would wish you all happy holidays, and we'll see you next year.
See you next year. We're adjourned.
Very good.